Lesson 11, Monitoring a Data Guard Broker Configuration. In this lesson, we're going to discuss the way to monitor Data Guard Broker configuration and its members using Enterprise Manager, Cloud Control, and using Data Guard Broker command line interface. And then we're going to view new Data Guard Broker validate command, and also we're going to use various VDALA views through SQL Plus to monitor Data Guard Broker configuration. Enterprise Manager Cloud Control, it is integrated with the Data Guard Broker management framework, especially daemon process, which is a Data Guard Broker process. It communicates with Oracle Management Agent to share all Data Guard Broker configuration and its members information. So if you have access to Enterprise Manager, then you can view Data Guard homepage to view standby progress, summary graph information that shows transport lag, and also apply lag. And you can also access to performance page as well to perform testing, and also you can review performance overview. And also you can check which log files are delivered but not applied yet, and also which log files not delivered. And also you can perform verification task to check the current status of a Data Guard Broker configuration. Okay, this slide is giving you a good example of Data Guard configuration status through Data Guard homepage using Enterprise Manager. In this page, you see the Data Guard Broker status. It's a normal, and Data Guard protection mode is a maximum performance, meaning that your Data Guard currently configured to maximize the performance of a primary database transaction. To do so, we configure the asynchronous redo transport service. So we can continuously transport redo to standby database, and then we can continuously issue SQL statement and commit in the primary database. In the next lesson, we're going to discuss the way to change a protection mode if your Data Guard configuration management changes. So configuration and management requirement changes. So that's what we're going to discuss. And also you can view fast start failover status. It is disabled. Fast start failover is automatic failover operation based on condition. The default condition is based on network connectivity. So if standby database lose connection to primary database, if observer the lose connection to the primary database, then there will be the condition where the fast start failover initiated. So we're going to discuss about fast start failover through one of our lessons later. And also you can view primary database information. It's a Boston database, and its location is host 01. My Boston database is up and running, and the current log information is also available. And also you have a standby database. My standby database is in London. So we have a various options as well. We can perform role transition service, which include the switchover and failover. And we can also perform conversion of a physical standby database to logical standby database. Sorry about that. Snapshot standby database. And you can also add a new standby database, and you can also add a far sync instance as well. So you can also view status of London, which is a physical standby database. And also, you can easily check the redo source. As you can see, London database, it receives the redo from the Boston database, which is primary database. And also, real-time query is enabled. And also, last received log is 29. And also, estimated failover time is less than a second. So we also have this information. And also, in the standby database progress summary page, we have information about transport lag and also apply lag. Transport lag is in case of disaster scenario, how much data you can lose. You're gonna lose. In this example, 2.1 minute, meaning that in case of a disaster scenario, thus you have to perform failover operation. Since we skipped the 2.1 minute worth of redo shipping, your standby database will lose about 2.1 minute worth of data. So that's a loss of data. And also we have apply lag. It tells you how far your physical standby database behind the primary database. Even though primary database transported 100% of a redo to standby database, there may be applied lag because of a status of a redo apply service, or if your standby host is a CPU bound or IO bound or network delay. So there are various reasons why your standby database is behind the primary database. So you can check your current standby database progress information from DataGuard homepage. And also, when you actually move down to the same page, you will see DataGuard performance link. And when you click DataGuard performance link, we have another way to monitor your DataGuard performance. Okay, so what you can do is, here we can switch log file from the primary database, and you can perform testing of your application. So when you start, we run test the application to generate a load on the primary database. So you can check what is transport lag, what is apply lag, and also what is the redo generation rate. According to this example, I don't see any the transport lag and apply lag, and also redo generation rate. Even during the peak time, it's only 30 KB per second, so it's a very minimal. I guess this is only testing environment or idle environment, so that's what I can guess. In the heavy OLTP environment, I could see easily over 10 megabytes per second redo generation rate or 20 megabytes per second redo generation rate. But this is only about 30 kilobytes per second, so it's a very minimal. And also apply rate is about 5 kilobytes per second and also 4 kilobytes per second, so it's also a very small number. But during the peak time, if there is an applied lag, then you will have to compare these two, whether redo generation rate is balanced with the redo apply rate. So you may have to tune apply in a service in the standby database, or you may have to schedule some of the less important workload in the different time period to balance load. But there are many actual factors, and also there are many different ways to balance workload in the primary side and also standby side. And also we have log file details. From the Enterprise Manager DataGuard homepage, and the bottom of a DataGuard admin homepage, you have another link, log file details, and you will also see this page as a part of a practice activity. If there is any unapplied redo, or redo ship the unapplied redo, or not the redo the never transported to standby database, and those kind of information will be reported. So we have a log 33 is a partially applied, and log 33 not received. So we can get this kind of information. So this table it shows redo log files that have not been received by standby database, and also redo log files that have been received but not applied to the standby database. As a part of a practice activity, we're going to simulate one thing. So we're going to stop MRP background process and duration of that time, and we're going to review this page to see which log files are reported as a not received or not applied redo. So that's what we're going to practice. So you can actually go through practice step to understand this scenario better. And also, Enterprise Manager has a DataGuard specific metrics. Metric is the rate of changes. Okay, for example, redo generation rate. That's in a rate of change. So that's a DataGuard specific statistics. And you can actually set alert on the metrics. So if certain metrics exceed your service level requirement or service level agreement, then you can receive a notification. So you can set alert on the metrics, so that way you can actually detect a potential problem ahead of time. For example, when you go to DataGuard metrics page, you can go to the Oracle database menu. When you click this, you will see DataGuard the metrics in a page. So you will see DataGuard in a fast start failover observer status, and also DataGuard the status, and also you will see other the DataGuard related metrics. So you can set warning and critical threshold based on that. And also, you can configure notification method by setting warning and critical threshold. Especially this the screenshot, it shows one metrics, redo generation rate. So it's a kilobytes per second. So do you have any service level requirement on this metrics, redo generation rate? So you can actually set warning threshold and critical threshold. For example, if a redo generation rate exceed, let's say 10 megabytes per second, then I will I will pay attention to see if there could be any root cause of a problem. So you can actually set warning and critical threshold, and then you can receive alert message if your statistics exceed warning and critical threshold. And you can also view metric value history information as well. So you can change the window. So default is a manual, but you can change your statistics window size last 24 hours. So you can view history of, in this example, redo generation rate kilobytes per second. So in the last 24 hours, okay, show me the redo generation rate. So you can actually see pattern of a redo generation rate over the time. So if you want to compare this target statistics with another target statistics. You can use compare target as well, so you can actually easily compare multiple targets. Up to this point is the Enterprise Manager part. I will quickly show you Enterprise Manager demonstration in the demo environment. Okay, so I'm in the demo environment now. This is a primary database, the primary database homepage. As we saw a couple of times during the demo session, you can actually access to DataGuard administration page. And in this page, I can switch to this user. You can access to DataGuard homepage here. So we have real-time data information, and also DataGuard normal, and also we have a maximum performance, and we have a normal. So in this example, we do have Boston far sync, and also London 2 I disabled on purpose. So we have actually all normal status except for logical standby database that I disabled. So you can view this information. And also at this point, since I didn't make any transactions in the primary database, there is no apply lag and also transport lag. And then I'm gonna scroll down. So here we have a DataGuard performance. In the DataGuard performance page, and you will see Boston database information. Okay, and also I don't have actually the London database, and also London the other database information. I think I didn't configure this performance page correctly, but in real environment, you should be able to see your actual the Boston and standby database redo generation rate, and also redo apply rate, that kind of information. And also when you come back to DataGuard homepage, and you will see log file details. So right now everything received and everything applied. So there is no report on that. But during the practice activity, you will simulate network delay and also your resource contention in the standby site. Thus, you will have a few of archive log files that will be reported as a part of practice activity, because we're going to make a few simulated scenarios. And the other thing what we're going to see here, when you go to database page and monitoring, and we have all metrics. And this all metrics will show you the list of metrics that are collected by Oracle database. And from those metrics, you will see DataGuard specific metrics as well. So in this example, we have DataGuard failover. So in this case, we have a DataGuard failover statistics, and also you have a DataGuard fast start failover observer status, and also you have a DataGuard performance status as well. So when you click DataGuard performance, you have only one metric under DataGuard performance section. So when you click redo generation rate, and you will see redo generation rate in the last 24 hours. Okay, so you see all this information. It's a 5 kilobytes per second in this time period, but this is not much. And also you can actually change it to real time to see real time statistics information. And also you can click modify threshold, so you can actually compare your current statistics, which is a Boston redo generation rate, with another primary database in another server, so you can compare that. So that's what you can see. And also we have a various graph here. We have a metric event, and also we have a collection overview. So we have a different way to look at all metrics information. If you want to set warning and critical threshold, you can go to metric and collection settings. In this location, and you will see that here we have a metric with a threshold, but you can also display all metrics here. So what we can do, we can use Control F, and then we're going to search for data guard. So as you can see, we have a data guard, fast start, failover observer status, and we also have a performance status and data guard configuration status. And you can also set warning and critical threshold and how often you want to compare current statistics with a threshold. And that's another thing that you can check. So we can actually view this kind of information. Let's go to data guard administration page again. So make sure everything is normal. And let's do a couple of things here. So I'm in the data guard broker command line interface. Let me stop redo transport service. So edit database Boston set state equals to transport equals to off. And let's see how it works in the enterprise manager. So I'm going to refresh, but actually a 30-second refresh is enabled. Let's see if there is any report. So at this point, I don't have any messages here, but eventually we should have oh, here we have a redo transport off. But still normal because we didn't make any transactions, no redo generated for the moment. And also what we're gonna do, let's actually stop redoapply service. So edit database London set state equals to apply off. Then what? So now I will wait a little more. So we'll refresh. And here we have a redo apply off. And I'm going to refresh. And the next thing what I'm going to do, I will switch log file. SQL alter system switch log file, and let's see how it works. So I will switch it, and then what I'm going to do, I will check log file details. As you can see, we received these messages. So we have partially applied the redo and also redo not received. So we have this kind of information reported. So as a part of a practice activity, you will simulate a similar problem, and also you will see observations. So in my case, I will simply copy and paste on. I will turn this on. and I will also enable redoapply service. Okay, so look at this. I have more entries. But after I turn this on, the list in the London database will disappear pretty soon. Okay, so now I restarted the redoapply service. So as you can see, I have more and more changes, and it's growing. So not received, not received, not received. But eventually this will be cleared. So I'm going to come back to DataGuard homepage. So make sure redoapply service is open, and redoapply service is open. So this is in a temporary the warning message until your standby database is synchronized. So what I can do here, I can check show database London. So this is clear. Show database Boston, and this success. Show configuration. That's good, meaning that your enterprise manager, it had a small delay because daemon process must work with the agent and then upload that information. So finally, as you can see, the error message gone. So command line interface a little faster than enterprise manager GUI interface, because there is a small delay between daemon process and also agent upload the same information to OMS. So it looks like there is a small delay. And this is enterprise manager, the method to monitor your DataGuard broker configuration. In the next session, I will show you how to monitor DataGuard broker configuration using command line interface. This is the first section. Okay, so let's talk about the way to monitor DataGuard broker configuration using DataGuard broker command line interface, and also by using SQL command. You can view DataGuard broker information the outside of a DataGuard broker command line interface, especially through alert log file and also through DataGuard broker log file. Within the DataGuard broker command line interface, you can run show database command and database name. And you can also display, you can also specify the property of a database or property of a configuration to display information. So for example, in this case, receive queue entries. So it will show you a list of entries, a list of alert log file that are not received by the standby database, or that are not applied by standby database. So we had exactly same scenario using Enterprise Manager. The same information is available. So with the show database command, you can actually specify different properties to display specific information. So we can use DataGuard broker command line interface. And also you can check the status of a configuration. I showed this couple of times. And also you can use show database London. So if this is a physical standby database, it will show you transport lag information and apply lag information. And also, if you want to display far sync instance status, then we're going to use show far sync and then far sync instance name. So that's what you can do. These commands will show you basic information. For example, when you run show configuration command, it will show you configuration name and also protection mode and primary database and also file sync instance and also error messages, just basic information in the high level. But if you want to display a more detailed information, then you can add verbose option. So it will give you additional information. So I will show you this part in the demo environment. Okay, so I came back to demo environment. So let's take a look at a couple of things. So when you type show configuration, and it will show you the basic information. But you can also add show configuration verbose. So it will give you detailed information. So in addition to basic configuration information, it also shows you current configuration level property information. So we have a fast start failover, operation type, and trace level, and also we have external destination 1 and 2. So we have several configuration level properties. Now what about your physical standby database? When you type show database London, it gives you only transport leg information and apply leg information. So that's in our basic level information. But you can also type show database verbose London, then it gives you a lot more information. So it will show you property of a primary database. Actually, in this case, physical standby database. So in this case, data guard broker will use London as a connect ID, and also we have a redo route. The London database, it transfer redo the London file sync if London becomes primary database. And also redo shipping is enabled if London database is primary. So at this point, this is idle because this destination is not valid yet. But in case of a switchover and failover, this will be used. So you can actually check current settings like this. And also we have more information, monitor specific setting, and also what is a static connect identifier. And so we have several settings available here. And the same thing from the Boston database, primary database, show database Boston, actually verbose Boston, and you also have details. Okay, what is property of a primary database, and also which settings are used by data guard broker. And daemon process uses current property setting to manage a primary database and standby database in the current data guard broker configuration. So this is another quick demo. So let me come back to slide. Okay, so I came back to the slide. Now we're gonna see a couple of validate command that validate different components of a primary and standby database. The first thing is we have a validate data file command, and this validate data file for both primary and standby databases. And also data file validation detect lost write at either database. You can specify data file to be compared by data file name or data file number. So here we have a validate database, database name, data file all, and output. So by connecting to the Boston database, we can validate the primary database information, data file, we can validate primary database data file in this example. And also, we can compare SP file of a primary database and also SP file of a standby database as well. Okay, if you want to see any mismatch the parameter setting or match the parameter setting, then you can use the validate database London SP file. Okay, so let me actually show you this as a quick demo. Okay, so I'm in the demo environment. So let me actually run validate database London SP file. So as you can see, the validate database London SP file, it shows parameter settings with the different values. So let's check here. Audit file destination. Okay, so Boston database, London database, audit file location is different location. Makes sense. So I don't have to worry about this difference. And also we have a dispatcher parameter setting difference. Makes sense because service name different in the primary database and the standby database. So I don't have to worry about this. And also enabled underscore PDB on standby. Boston database we haven't specified. London database we used asterisk. As a part of a practice 5 or 4, you will practice this parameter. So this is only applicable to standby database. So we don't touch primary database. So this is, makes sense. So this change and difference, we don't have to worry about that. And also we have a log archive trace. Boston is 0, London is not specified. So as part of a demonstration, I changed the log archive trace to higher value and then reset it to 0. So we have a different parameter setting, so we don't have any problem. And we also have a standby DB preserve state. Boston database is a session, London database not specified. Okay, this one you will practice as a part of a later lesson. So I have a demonstration about this. But you may want to say which parameters were checked through this process. I know actually what are the differences, and you can review it, and you can finally confirm that these are not, this is not something critical that we will have to take action at this point. But you want to say, what are the parameters checked by data guard broker? So if that is the case, you can run validate database verbose London SP file. So as you can see, it can show you a complete list. Okay, undo table space, it was checked. And also standby DB preserve state, it was checked. SJ target and remote login password file. And also open cursor and so on. So you can review list of parameters that will be checked by data guard broker. So you can get this information. So now I will come back to slide. Okay, so next thing is you can also validate network configuration. So this is to check connectivity. Okay, validate network configuration for all. So it checks connectivity between members of a data guard broker. So it uses data guard connect identifier property to connect to each member in the configuration. And we already displayed the data guard connect identifier as a part of a previous demonstration. I typed the show database verbose London, and it displayed everything including data guard connect identifier. And also we can validate static connect identifier for Boston. This is to check static service registration. If you recall, as a part of a practice 2 and also demonstration 2, we practiced static service registration. We use static service to automate starting up of an instance remotely. Okay, so when you make connection to one of the database instances or one of the databases remotely, in order to restart database, you must have a service registered with a static service registration. So validate static connect identifier for and Boston. It will show you whether static service registration is ready or not in your data guard configuration. So let me show you this. Okay, so I'm in this location. Validate static connect identifier for Boston. So as you can see, Oracle clusterware is not configured because it's not a rack database and clustered environment. So we must have a static service registration. In this example, we have a Boston dgmgrl.example.com. So data guard broker uses this service to restart database instance remotely. So when you look at host 01, and listener status, it will show you Boston underscore dgmgrl and Boston, and it's a status unknown, meaning that this is the static service registration. One interesting part I haven't tested, let me do this way. Let's go to Oracle Home, Network, Admin Directory, and I do have a listener.ora file. I will just copy this file as a backup, and then I will open up listener.ora file, and let me get rid of this dgmgrl. So in this case, I will just comment this out, comment this out, comment this out, comment this out, I think up to this point, and then I will save it, and I'm going to reload. And then I'm going to check status. So I don't have a dgmgrl anymore here. So it doesn't support restarting up of a Boston database through data guard broker. So in this case, let me come back to this location and let me run this again. As you can see, it gives you this information, failed. We are looking for data guard broker specific service, however it doesn't exist. So that immediately gives you the failure, so it tells you which network configuration you have to change it. In this case, we are data guard broker looking for Boston underscore dgmgrl, but we commented out, so that's why we got this error message. So I'm gonna actually resolve this problem. So now I don't need this, I don't need this, and I'm gonna reload and then double check. So now I have a dgmgrl, and I will double check. Validate static connect identifier for Boston. Now it works. So that's the idea. So I'm going to come back to the slide. So we also have a miscellaneous new data guard broker command, set echo show all. So it gives you the additional information. So show all, it gives you current settings of a data guard broker command line interface. Now we're going to move on to SQL Plus. In the SQL Plus, you can view standby read log. So you can check the location of standby log file in the physical standby or logical standby database. It is a location where redo is written to. So you have to make sure these directories exist, and also you have a standby log files in the right directory. And also you can check the status of a standby log. If your current primary database, if your database is a primary database, when you check $standby log, you will see unassigned, because standby log, this will be used when database becomes a standby database. If a database is a primary, this will not be used because we are checking standby log. And also you can check a $log file. So if your database, the role, and also you can use a $archive dest. For example, you observed transport lag through Enterprise Manager or data broker command line interface. The first thing what you have to check is whether log archive dest configuration is valid or not. If a log archive dest configuration is not valid, redo shipping is not possible. So for example, we have destination 2, destination 3, we have a wrong valid type. So these two locations must be fixed. So you can easily check root cause of a transport lag if there is a configuration problem. And also you can set a log archive trace init parameter, and this is optional, and this is diagnostic purpose to gather more information in the primary database, in the standby database, in case of a troubleshooting. So that's one thing what you can use. And also you can view the redo transport error by querying $archive dest. So in addition to status, you can also see the error messages. So we have a archive log standby database identifier mismatch in this case. And also you can display transport lag through SQL Plus, just like an Enterprise Manager and data broker command line interface. You can also display applied lag as well. And that's your preference. Same information available through GUI or data broker command line interface or SQL Plus. So that's your choice. My preference is for monitoring purpose, Enterprise Manager. For management purpose, data broker command line interface. And also you can see the alert log information from the view. So that is the data status. So it will show you alert information through the view. Okay, so what's the next page? We also have a data process. It is to verify database modifications are being successfully transmitted from the primary database to standby database. So it will give you manage the recovery status and also recovery log miner status. So it gives you information. Recovery log miner role shows the redo is being applied at the standby database. So you can see that whether the process is working and active in the physical standby database. And also we have a logical standby database transaction, and this view displays information about all transactions that are actively being processed by SQL apply service. So it will give you progress of a SQL apply operation. Okay, so looks like I covered 3 different ways to monitor data guard configuration using Enterprise Manager and using Data Guard Broker command line interface and using SQL Plus and redoapply. So here's a quiz. You can click the Data Guard performance chart that show real-time data in Oracle Enterprise Manager to view historical data. So actually, this question is not really clear. Yes, in the Data Guard performance page, and we have a view data option to define window. Real time, it shows the last 1 hour worth of the statistics information. But we can also have 24 hours and also 7 days, the window. So in order to view historical data, we have to change the view data either 24 hours or 7 days or even more. So the answer is, it is depending on how you interpret this question. So my answer could be false, but according to the manual, it is true. So, but just try to understand what is the meaning of this and also what information available through Data Guard performance page. Real-time data is available. Okay. When you actually set view data option 15 second and 30 second, it gives you the most current 1 hour worth of data. But we also have other option, the 24 hours and 7 days, so that give you historical data. But I will actually hold this the quiz and this the answer to this quiz, because the question is not clear enough. And log archive trace initialization parameter is valid only on the primary database to display diagnostic information regarding sending of redo data. Not really. If you have a physical standby database problem or logical data guard, a logical standby database problem, I still can use log archive trace to capture more information, especially when working with the Oracle support. And what can be performed using Data Guard Broker validate command? I showed you a couple of demos through the validate command. We can compare SP file entries between primary database and specify the standby database. And we were able to perform network checking, and also we were able to validate static connect identifier. I showed you this as demo. And we can also validate data files for both primary and standby databases. So the answer is E. This is second part of lesson 11. Practice 11-1, monitoring the physical standby database. In this practice activity, we're going to use Data Guard Broker command line interface to monitor the physical standby database. If you are in the Data Guard Broker command line interface, you can skip step number 1. But if you already exit out, then you will have to get into Data Guard Broker command line interface. In step number 2, you will display configuration of a Data Guard Broker. So you can type show configuration. When you run in a show configuration, it will show you a simple format of output. But if you want to display a little more information, which is a detailed information, then you can run show configuration and verbose. Then it will give you more information, so which include the property information. these are the properties that can be configured at the configuration level. There are the list of properties that can be set at the configuration level, and also another set of properties that can be set at the database level, another set of properties that can be set at the instance level. So the result here, it shows the list of properties that can be set at the configuration level. And especially here we have operation timeout 30 seconds, communication timeout 180 seconds. What we're gonna do, we're gonna change it, two properties at the configuration level, and also how we can monitor the changes to data guard broker configuration. So first thing is we're gonna change it, communication timeout. If your environment is extremely slow, then you may want to change it, communication timeout to 300 seconds. Typically, you don't need it in normal environment, but in the virtual environment, if you expect some performance issue, then we can simply increase this value to avoid the communication-related warning messages. But in the typical environment, you don't really need it. And also, you can verify changes. Okay, so I will have to log in again. I didn't execute this first. So it looks like it doesn't accept 2 lines. Line by line. Okay, so I changed it. And I can confirm that. Okay, so as you can see, communication timeout is 300 seconds. And also, you can change another property. Again, this is for demonstration purpose. You change property values at the configuration, and also you will see how to verify, and also how to check these property changes through different files. That's what we're going to practice here. And also you can display configuration level properties. Okay, so as you can see here, we have operation timeout 300 seconds. And also, you can display physical standby database information. It shows you the status of a redoapply service, and also transport lag, and also apply lag. Okay, so if there is any network issue, you will observe a transport lag, and also if redoapply service running slow because of some a resource contention issue, or if a redoapply service is stopped, then you will also observe applied lag from the output. Okay, so now let's test one thing. So we're going to stop redoapply service at the London database. And then we're going to switch log file. Let's wait for 10 seconds. And then I will display the status of a London database. Remember that we stopped redoapply service. And network is fine. And so London database can receive redo, but redo cannot be applied because we stopped redoapply service. Now, let's check status of London. Okay, as you can see, apply lag is 42 seconds because we stopped MRP process. Makes sense. And if you want to see the received the log file but not applied, and you can run show database London, receive queue entries. You received it, but there are logs that they are not applied. So that's what you can see. If you want to see same thing through Enterprise Manager, yes, it's possible. So what you can do is you can start Firefox browser. And then you're going to get into Enterprise Manager using the same URL. And then you will log in as a sysman and password cloud_4u. In the database page, you click the Boston database link. On the Boston database homepage, you will access to availability. Now here we have a data guard administration. If a data guard administration, the menu doesn't appear, then you still use add standby database to get into. Okay, so I'm going to use a new, or you can save it. So it's based on your preference. So we use the same technique to navigate to Data Guard Broker homepage. Okay, so this is the Data Guard Broker homepage. When you come down here, we have a performance section and log file detail. So when you click that, you will see same information. So which files are received but not applied. So it takes a little bit of time. So you should be able to see same output like this. Okay, so unable to receive reserve from member, makes sense. So here logo file, we have a 43 partially applied, not received. So you have this kind of information. Okay, so that's what you can do through Enterprise Manager. And also, Enterprise Manager will show you this information. So let me come back to Data Guard admin page again. Look at this, redoapply service is stopped. So that's what you can see. And now let's enable redoapply service again. So once you turn this on, I will double check receive queue entries and Enterprise Manager. So I will check this. So we still have it. So it may take a little bit of time. So now this time it is thinking. Okay, so as you can see, oh, I just typed in the wrong one. I will just use this. So we still have it. But eventually this will disappear. So let's take a look at London database status. So as you can see, we have the final status, everything is good, and then we exit out. So in this practice activity, we did a couple of things. We changed data guard broker configuration. So we tested how to change it by using edit database and edit configuration command. We also stopped redoapply service and how to verify unapplied redo, and also how to check through Enterprise Manager. That's for the practice 11-1. Practice 11-2, examining data guard log and trace files. In this practice activity, we're going to review data guard information through the several files. In host shadow 1, we're going to get into SQL Plus environment. And let's check ADR, Automatic Diagnostic Repository. And ADR is a location of data guard log and also trace files. As you can see, user 1 app Oracle, that is a root location of ADR. So we're going to exit out. And then we're going to access to trace directory, user 1 app Oracle, and diagnostic for RDBMS product, Boston as a database, Boston as an instance, and trace. And in this location, we have a lot of trace files here. But out of this, you will see data guard log file here. And also, you will have alert log file as well. Okay, so we're going to take a look at data guard log file. Especially, we want to search for communication timeout because we changed it. So let's see if this change is recorded in the data guard log file. As you can see, we changed the data guard broker configuration, property, and it was recorded into data guard broker log file. And this is the reason why we changed this configuration property in practice 11-1. And then we're going to also take a look at apply status change. So as you can see, we turned off redoapply service and we turned on redoapply service. Actually, I enabled it twice as a part of a previous practice activity by mistake. So, two activities recorded here, turned on and turned on again. So when you actually look at the log file, and you will show you details as well, including timestamp. So you will know that when you modified the status of a redoapply service. And also, you can take a look at trace file information. So there are lots of trace files. So latest one reported here, M005, M005, and M004. The background process create trace file and also metadata for trace file. Okay, so we have this information, and then I will Control C. So what I'm going to do here, I will log in as a sysdba. And then I will change the log archive trace to capture a little more information. And then I will switch log file and exit out. So let's take a look at which files are created. Unlike in the previous example, M005, more files created here. So we have a log writer trace file generated by DSS2, and also from this we have these more files created. So that's what we can see. So let's take a look at one of the files, especially NSS. So it is a network server sync process. When you enable redo transfer service with a synchronous mode, then NSS process it is responsible to transport redo. We want to see here grab Boston var sync Boston NSS 2, and number is 255 trace file. So as you can see, we have an RFS process. It is responsible to write redo received into Boston var sync standby log file. So this is a redo transfer service background process. It is responsible to transfer redo to RFS process, especially Boston var sync. So meaning that Boston primary database transfer redo to Boston var sync, especially background process in the Boston var sync, that is RFS in a process. So we can get this kind of information from here. Since we reviewed this type of information and data guard specific operation through the trace file, I'm going to disable the archive trace. Exit out. This is for practice 11-2. Practice 11-3 using the validate command. In the previous practice activity, we used some of the validate command to validate database status. There are more the purposes of using validate command. So we're going to test a couple of validate command in this practice activity. The first thing is, in the hostshare 1, you can use existing terminal session, or you can make new connection to hostshare 1, and then using data guard command line interface, you connect to Boston database. Oracle underscore for you Boston. And then you can actually type help command. Actually help validate command. So we have a help validate database command, and this will validate your database, and it can tell you whether switchover is possible, or your database is ready for switchover or not. You can also check data file status, and also you can check SP file between primary and standby databases, and also what will be status of a var sync if another database becomes a new primary database. What is your network configuration? What is static service identifier in your data guard environment? So there are many things what we can do. Especially I like the validate command for the network checking. We're gonna test a couple of things here, especially validate database, SP file, and var sync, and network, and static. And validate database command, this will be used a lot in the later practice activities. The first thing is we're gonna run validate database London SP file. When you run validate database SP file, it is to compare SP file content between primary database and the specified standby database, in this case London. So when you look at this, we connect to Boston database and connect to London database and display parameter difference. So audit file destination, Boston and London, it's different, it's expected, I'm fine. Dispatcher setting, Boston and London is different, it's expected. And also enable the PDB on standby. In the primary database, not specified. Makes sense because this parameter only applicable in the standby database. And London is asterisk, meaning that all of the PDBs are protected in the physical standby database. And log archive trace 0 because we tested in the previous practice activity. At the end of practice activity 11-2, we set it to 0. But in the London database, we haven't tested log archive trace related operations, so not specified. So everything is good. But if you want to see more details, then you can run validate database verbose London SP file. Then it will show you, which files are checked and which parameters checked. As you can see, we connected to primary database and London database. There are parameters, the values of parameters that are different, and also we have the parameter values which are same. So you will check which parameters checked by validate database London SP file command. So you can check this kind of information. And then we're gonna also test validate farsync Boston farsync when primary is London. So in case of a role transition service, if London becomes primary database, then what will be the status of Boston? So you can actually get this kind of information. So here, both the member role is a farsync instance. When primary database is London, then Boston farsync is not in use. So redo destination is none. However, validate farsync, London farsync. If a London becomes primary database, London transport redo to London farsync. And the London farsync is responsible to transport redo to two final destinations. One is Boston, one is London too. So you can actually expect redo transport service path by validating your farsync. And also you can validate network configuration by using validate network configuration for London. So it gives you connectivity information. So when you go back here, so you connect to London database, and London database is connected. From London database, we connect to Boston database, it is succeeded. From London database, we connect to London, the Boston farsync. From London database, we connect to London 2. From London database, we connect to London farsync. And we connect to Boston database, and we check connectivity as well. So it gives you connectivity from London to the other members. So network configuration setting, network checking is possible using validate network command. But in the previous command, it's only to check connectivity from specified database, which is London database. But what if you want to check whether London can connect to all of the members, and Boston can connect to all of the members, and farsync can connect to all of the members? If you want to check the network configuration of all members, then you will have to use validate network configuration for all. So it will do more checking. So you can actually review one by one to see if there is any connectivity problem or not. And the other one is you can also validate static service registration. Static service registration are used in the data guard environment and leads to two different purposes. The first example is the first time when you create physical standby database, your standby database must be restarted. In order to support restarting up of a database, we must have a static service registered in the listener directly. And also, when you perform role transition service, your database must be restarted, and that time static service must be available in your data guard environment. So we can check whether static service is available in your environment for Boston and for all of our members. As you can see, we have a Boston and static service registered successfully. So Oracle ClusterWare is not configured. However, we have a static configuration is ready. In the ClusterWare environment, restarting up of a database is done by ClusterWare, so we don't need a static service registration. However, in the standalone environment, we must register a service with a static service registration, meaning that update listener configuration file directly to support remote startup of a database. You can also check static connect identifier for all the other members of a cluster as well. Okay, so for Boston, for London 2, and also other databases, everything is successful. So succeeded, and succeeded. So the network validation testing is just successfully completed. So as you can see, in the data guard environment, through data guard broker command line interface, you can validate many of the components of a data guard configuration using validate command. This is practice 11-3.